Hello and welcome to my Kickstart Your Wedding Planning series. My name is Rebecca Wilkie and I run Rebecca Wilkie Weddings and Events, and I want to use my experience over the years of planning weddings and parties and events for people to help you get your wedding planning off to the best start. Today's episode is a bit of a controversial one because it's all about money. Us Brits don't really like talking about money, it makes people feel uncomfortable, but unfortunately when it comes to weddings it's all about the money. So the first thing that we need to do is kind of put aside all of that politeness and we need to have the conversation. If you've already been over to my website and you've downloaded the Kickstart Your Wedding Planning Guide, you'll notice in there is a page that is all about where does the money come from. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to look at where is the money coming from. Is some of the money coming from family, the bride's family contributing or the groom's family contributing? And if they are, there needs to be some very real conversations around that, around what does that money look like. And I'm not just thinking in terms of how much money is being given to contribute to that wedding planning budget, but around what does that come with? Does that money come with conditions? And it might be that if you don't have that conversation at the very, very beginning of the planning process, that things become quite awkward and quite difficult further down the line. It might be that your families are contributing to your wedding budget and without thinking that there might be conditions on the back of that. I had a bride and groom whose parents had contributed, and then when it came to the guest list, that bride and groom's parents felt that they should have final say in who was and wasn't inviting to their wedding, and that made things quite awkward because it meant that the couple had people at their wedding who they didn't really know and didn't want there. But it also meant because they'd already chosen and paid for their venue and they were restricted in numbers, it meant that they couldn't have some of their friends attend their wedding breakfast because there wasn't enough room for them. So it is really important that you sit down and that you have those conversations and you talk about what the expectations are that comes with that money, and that you're comfortable with that. So I know that might be a very, very uncomfortable process, but if you have that conversation at the very, very beginning, it will make for less arguments further down the line. The other thing that you need to think about is, remember step 2, the list of things that were important to us. And it's about when you've decided how much money you've got, where the money is all coming from, where is the money going to go. So you need to make decisions about what's important to you. There are guides out there that will tell you how much money you should spend on a wedding, that tell you how much things should cost and where your budget should be apportioned. The problem is that not everybody is the same, not everybody's planning the same wedding, not everybody has the same priorities. There might be areas that you want to save some money on. One of those areas might be, for example, within your stationery budget. Does everybody need their own menu? Can you have one menu for the table? It might be that you want to save money under the wedding favours budget. Does everybody need a wedding favour? More and more weddings now, couples are doing away with wedding favours. And if you are going to have a wedding favour, do something like food and drink. Food and drink can be eaten and drunk there and then. If you do something that they will take away with them, unfortunately not everybody puts the same emphasis on that wedding favour as you. And the amount of times that I have at the end of the night cleared away all the wedding favours that guests have left behind, perhaps because they've forgotten it was there, they've been up dancing all night, perhaps it's because they are drunk. So there are little things like that where you can save money. The other thing that we need to talk about are wedding suppliers and how much they charge. I see time and time again on different formats, on different forums, that a lot of people say the second you mention the word wedding, prices go through the roof. But I think it's really important to think about those suppliers and to think about why some of those suppliers do charge what it is that they charge. So let's think about wedding cars, for example. So you make the decision that you want a Rolls Royce as your wedding car. Hiring a Rolls Royce for your wedding can be very expensive. It's not like a taxi where they're just going to drop you off and then they're going to go and do the next wedding. What you'll find is that if you have a wedding car, you will have that wedding car for a period of time on that day. Not only will they pick you up, take you to your wedding venue, perhaps go back and then pick bridesmaids up and take them to the wedding venue, but they will then hang around, take you to your reception venue, hang around for your photographers so that you can have photographers within that car. So you need to think about the amount of time that you've got that car for. The second thing that you need to think about is that you're not just paying for the petrol. You are paying for that wedding car to be maintained. You're contributing to the insurance, you're contributing to the road tax. If that car were to break, if something were to go wrong with that car, it's really important that that supplier has a backup plan, and that needs to be costed as well. It's also really important to remember that if that car needs a new part, they can't just whiz down to Halfords or Quick Fit and get something replaced. Quite often when it comes to these amazing cars, things are handmade, things have to be imported from all over the world, and those parts are very, very, very expensive. So you will find that the costs of some of your suppliers initially on the face of it might seem quite high, but once you start to look behind it, it becomes apparent as to why those costs are what those costs are. A very good friend of mine who is also a wedding planner did an amazing piece all about wedding budgets and all about wedding costs for an online blog. So what I will do is I will share the link to that amazing piece so you can go and read a little bit more about suppliers and about why suppliers' budgets might be what they might be. So this section is all about having those difficult conversations, understanding where your money is coming from, but linking it with our last step and prioritising that budget. Forget what those online guides tell you to do. Forget what those online guides tell you how to apportion that money. You're going to apportion that money in a way that you think is important. So the things that are important to you, you're going to allocate more money to. So I hope that this second step has been useful and not uncomfortable, because we don't like talking about money, but it is really, really important that this is the one stage that you've got to get right, because if you don't get it right, the end of your amazing wedding day is not going to be the wedding day that you want it to be. You will enjoy and not find it too difficult, and join me for my next video. So take care. Bye.